Hi there, I'm Nigel Saunders, and today we're joining a project that's already in progress. This month I was invited down to the Misseto Bonsai Society, that's located near Toronto, Ontario, to do a demo at their club meeting. I was trying to decide what kind of demo to do for the Misseto Club, and I thought back to their summer show, and I noticed that their summer show they had a lot of tropical trees. So I thought, well, I better do something tropical. My dwarf Schefflera here started out life as a houseplant sold in Canadian Tire, a big box store. It was in a large pot and it had just a whole bunch of trees growing out of it. So when I was in Canadian Tire, I saw a pot full of these trees that was very similar to how this tree started its life. I was going to let my Schefflera clump grow wild over the winter to increase its vigor and try and get more aerial roots growing. But I found I didn't have enough space in the plant room to keep a large tree and all my other large trees in, so I had to prune it down. Before I took the tree to the Misseto meeting, I pruned off all the long shoots that were sticking way out of the profile to make it look a little more reasonable, to give the people at Misseto an idea of what their trees can look like in the future. I only had about 2 hours at the club meeting to transfer the nursery grown plants into a bonsai, and I was hoping to get this tree pruned up at the meeting also, so I got Magdalena from the club to defoliate it as a first step. I was very busy at the meeting doing the demo and answering questions, so I didn't get time to take many pictures or photos, but a club member did send me the pictures so we can look at the photos now, and I'll describe the process of creating the clump style Schefflera bonsai. This is my setup before the meeting. I have my Schefflera trees, a sarissa for display, my toolbox, soil, water, everything I need. Here's a close-up of the dwarf Schefflera, roughly pruned up. Here's a close-up of my living African diorama with my sarissa trees to look like African acacia trees. After a nice introduction, I begin the demonstration. I was very busy answering lots of great questions that night. I asked for 2 volunteers in the audience to come and defoliate the Schefflera trees. So Magdalena did the clump style and Jimmy did the new trees, the ones that I'm going to be arranging. Here's the Schefflera clump style, all defoliated. And here's the new trees that Jimmy defoliated. After defoliation, the first operation was to get the trees out of the pot. They had a lot of thick roots that went down to the bottom of the pot, so after careful examination, I decided it was safe to prune the root ball in about half. I used a saw to prune them, and now I'm combing out the soil to see what's left of the roots. Here I'm untangling roots. The next step was to separate all the trees. So there's no easy way of doing it. They're all fused together. So you just have to use the old-fashioned way of pulling and tugging and prying them apart. I've got most of the trees separated now. I'm leaving the trees shown in my hand as a clump style. They fan out nicely from the center. And you can see all the trees in the tray underneath that I'll be arranging around this central clump. I'm positioning the central clump of trees in the pot now. That's just a seed tray pot. I'm at the front of the planting, having a look, getting the best front for this clump style, and positioning it in the pot. I'm adding more trees to the clump style now, making sure they're all fanning out from the center. I'm picking only the best trees out. I won't use all the ones that came in that original pot of trees. Here they are all arranged, and I've added the soil around the trees. The last step is to prune the trees to a nice rounded shaped canopy to give them that umbrella style look. I've added some stones around the base of the trees to keep them firmly in place until the new roots start to grow. Here's the final shot of the initial planting. These trees will need lots of refining in the future, but I think they're off to a good start. Time flew by quickly that evening, and I never did get time to thank the members of the Misseto Bonsai Society for having me down, so thank you very much. It's been about a week and a half since the demo, And because the tree was so vigorous, it's already got some new leaves growing in. Here's some of the new leaves growing in here. There's a little tiny one starting here, and a tiny one here. Sometimes hard pruning a tree back doesn't always go as planned. It's not always successful. I'll show you some of the areas where the tree died back. Here's a trunk here that I did directional pruning on, and I was hoping to get a new shoot coming out, fanning out from the center of the tree. However, it died back, and I got a new shoot growing out the side here, which is making this area look quite congested. If we look at this area from the front of the tree, you can see a center of congestion here, where there's a lot of trunks growing in one area. They're not kind of fanning out. They're kind of almost tangled up in that one spot. I have the option of cleaning this tree up so the right-hand side here looks more like the left-hand side, more symmetrical. Or I can try and make this a feature. It has a lot of aerial roots growing down from this section of the tree, which will increase the vigor in this section. So I can grow out this right side of the tree longer and create a bit of asymmetry in the tree, which will create more interest in the future of this planting. In the meeting, the leaves were pruned off, leaving about half of the leaf stem on the tree, and these are already starting to fall off. You can see them underneath the tree. The older ones are just falling off, and they'll eventually all fall off as the new leaves come out. I'm going to start pruning now, and my goal for this pruning will be to keep the height low, extend the branches out on the side, and get subdividing on all the branches. I'll start at the top of the tree, and I'll prune it as low as I can get it, and still keep some of this new green growth on the tree. So using directional pruning, always pruning just above an outward facing leaf. When I'm doing this pruning, I'm keeping the profile of the canopy in mind to get that nice rounded shape or umbrella shape to the canopy. So I'm stepping back every now and then and having a look at the tree to see the progress of the canopy. As I work on the tree, I'm cleaning up a lot of the old pruning stubs, just cleaning them flush. Like that. Some of the dead trunks I'll prune back. Because this tree's grown all summer, I always find new branches that are growing in towards the center of the tree that need to be removed, like this one here. And I'll clean up the old pruning stub here, like that. Like that. That's better. I have a branch here that's growing parallel to this main thick trunk here, and it's growing underneath, and it's just cluttering the design up. So I think I'm going to remove that entirely. So I'm going to come in here, and it's not easy to get in here, but I can do it. There we go. So that's removed. That cleans up the design of the tree quite a bit, especially when viewed from the front. And whenever you're pruning a tree, you've always got to reevaluate what you're doing, look at the branch structure, and clean up things that just aren't working. When you're pruning it, also keep in mind that it's a three-dimensional sculpture, that you're pruning both for profile, roundness, and the overall oval shape to the tree. You don't want one section growing out really long compared to the rest of the branches. I've finished pruning up the tree, and here's all the clippings from it. And I want you to notice that in these clippings, there's some fairly major branches I've pruned off. Some good woody ones with some ramification. And the reason I pruned those off is I'm pruning for direction, keeping beautiful flow lines coming up from the base of the tree. Here's the tree all pruned up, and I'm trying to get nice flow lines coming from the surface of the soil, flowing up the root base to the trunks of the trees and out the branches. A lot of books will tell you that clip and grow bonsai looks too angular, that it doesn't look like a graceful tree in the end. But it's all a matter of choice. You can choose it to look angular, or you can prune off all the angular bits and create quite a nice smooth looking tree. I finished with the top of the tree now. The next step with this tree will be to start working on the roots again, pruning the roots for ramification to get more fine surface roots growing around the trees to create a more miniature look to the whole planting. I always like to imagine a scale value to the tree, so I try and imagine the height of a person that would be standing underneath the tree, and for this planting I imagine a person to be about this high. It's nice to see the tree all pruned back after letting it grow wild all summer. So this tree has just been clipped and now it's in a growing phase. So you clip and let it grow again. It's time now for today's update. Today's update is my money tree bonsai. In August of this year, so towards the end of summer, it was pruned back in height, keeping both my upright trunks. So this is a Hail Mary cut. We'll see what happens. So here I go. There we go. And it sprouted a lot of new growth now. I had let this tree grow quite tall, and then I did a Hail Mary cut where I just cut back into the old wood here, and luckily the tree sprouted new branches. And I was also lucky to get the one branch dividing into two, which is really good. The skinnier trunk has all kinds of buds that are swelling on it, so I don't think it'll be too long before I get some growth coming out of the second trunk. Towards the back of the tree, I've got some buds also coming out from some of this old wood. Looks like there might be 2 buds coming out there. So the tree did really well. So letting it grow really tall and pruning it back hard gave me a lot of new branching, and I'm happy. It's time now to have a look at some viewers' picks. Today's viewers' picks are sent in by Ben from Australia. He's got a nice assortment of trees on the go. That's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.